Hello everybody. Today we are going to be building a random deck based on some random criteria. Here I've got a wheel with a bunch of different archetypes, and I've also got a wheel with all the different color pairs. So let's go ahead and see what we are building today. So it looks like the first thing that we spin for archetype is going to be aggro. And for color, looks like we'll be playing Selesnya. Selesnya aggro. Let's see what kind of options we have. So first things first, we gotta take a look at what kind of commanders we could play. So it is an aggro deck. There's a +1/+1 counter deck, but that's probably going to be pretty slow unless we're playing a bunch of vigilance, since we have to tap the creature at sorcery speed to pump it. I really think Cadira is probably going to be my favorite option here. I think Cadira is a very strong commander that hasn't seen much exploration in the meta, so I think that'll be a fun choice. We've got another +1/+1 counter deck that has potential. Giving you a hardened scales in the command zone could be something worth looking into. We've got Hamza as another potential go wide +1/+1 counter deck who helps cast creatures more consistently by reducing their costs. He's potentially a strong commander. We've got a Lord that creates bodies. We've got another token generator that can pump our board. However, I am particularly interested in Cadira, so I think that's what we are going to build today. So Cadira requires us to be able to deal combat damage, which having passive trample helps with a lot. And it requires us to have tokens so that she can create more tokens. So, first things first, we are going to want to find some sort of token generator that can consistently put out tokens, or just a bunch of cards that passively create tokens. So the first card that comes to mind is Thraben Inspector. Thraben Inspector enters the battlefield and creates a clue, which is a artifact token that we can pay 2 and sacrifice to draw a card. So Thraben Inspector is a 1-mana creature that generates a token that we can then convert into card draw once we're done making rabbit tokens off of it. Now let's take a look at what options we have to create multiple tokens. Battle Screech is a very strong choice for us. It not only creates 2 tokens, but the rabbits Cadira makes are white creatures, so we can use them to flashback the spell. So Battle Screech is a very easy include. So we've got Battle Screech that will make some 1/1s. It makes multiple 1/1s, and those are evasive creatures. And we can flash it back for 0 mana if we tap 3 white creatures, which the rabbits from Cadira happen to be, so Battle Screech is a very easy include for us. Acorn Harvest is potentially playable as well. It is 4 mana, same as Battle Screech, but it actually costs us mana to flash back, but it's still worth considering because it does have flashback. We're not going to be playing too many auras, and this is 5 mana. This is potentially playable since they're bigger tokens, so we'll add it in for now. All the Scions is interesting because it's so potentially ramp, and Captain's Call creates 3 tokens, so we're definitely going to be playing that. Finn's Enlistment has Retrace and creates 2 tokens. So anything that gives us repeated recursion is going to be worth playing most likely. This is 2 mana for 2 tokens, and sometimes 3 tokens, so this is definitely good. we want to create tokens before we cast Cadira, or the turn after we cast Cadira, as much as possible. So 4 or less is going to be the ideal mana cost. We've got another creature that creates 2 Scions, and it's 4 mana, so this is potentially worth considering. I do like that this makes 2 tokens for 2 mana. Even though the trample doesn't help our commander, it's still 2 mana, so I'd say it's worth considering. Same with Gather the Townsfolk, it's 2 mana. We can ignore Fateful Hour, because that should never trigger most likely, but 2 mana, 2 bodies is very strong for us. This spell is actually interesting, because it is 3 mana, but it's instant speed and potentially can give us Death Touch, so it's worth considering. So I'll put it in the deck for now. This is just too expensive, most likely. This is 3 mana sorcery speed, so we probably won't play it. It's cost us cards from our hand. This is 6 mana. It does create 3 tokens that are bigger and scries 3, so maybe, but we'll see if we need to come back to this. We'll add it to the list for now, but it's definitely a potential cut. I'll even just put it in the sideboard. I don't like this card very much, because we're going to be making a bunch of tokens. This is 4 mana, so we could play it since it's instant speed. We'll add it to the list for now. The main question is how many token generators we'll have that are efficient. Night's Watch is probably just too expensive. This is a 4-drop that makes 2 tokens, and it's a 3/3. I actually really like this. Another 3 mana instant speed token generator. Small Splicer is too slow, most likely. This is too slow. Too slow. Omen of the Sun is pretty decent, probably. Not only is it instant speed, 2 tokens, it also gains life and has extra modality. This is probably too slow. This can high roll really easily. At worst, it's still 3 mana for 2 tokens. Sometimes they'll be bigger, which is nice. So I think that one's worth considering. Saproline Migration is 2 mana, 2 tokens. This makes 3 tokens and has Convoke, so it's worth considering, I'd say. I'm not thrilled about playing it, but we can think about it. These kicker spells are just too expensive. Same with this, although the Evoke is not bad. Maybe this is still worth considering, actually. 3 mana for 2 tokens here. This is too slow. This creates 3 tokens with flying and has Convoke, so we'll consider it. Probably too slow. Too slow. 4 mana for 3 tokens with modalities, not bad. This creates 3 tokens that create tokens, but it's 6 mana, so we'll probably not play it. And same with this, we'll probably not play. Anyways, let's move on to some ways to protect. But let's see if there's any other good single token generators. Ancestral Blade might actually be pretty decent. Creates a 2/2 for 2 mana that is a token, and we can also equip it to Cadira later if we need an extra little bit of damage. All of the Conclave could be decent. 2 mana 3/3 token. This is a repeatable token generator. Additionally, it creates a token on attack, and then Cadira will create more tokens on damage, so it will count the token created by the Swine Master. This is potentially a 2-mana mana dork. That is also a token. Probably won't play it still though. I like the Cartouche. 1-mana vigilant creature that also pumps. We can't play it on turn 1, but giving Cadira first strike helps get through damage guaranteed. Thanks to the trample. Cards like Ceremonial Knife might also be good. If we cast this on turn 1 or 2, cast Cadira, equip it, then on our combat damage trigger, we can stack them and create the blood token first, and then get a guaranteed creature off of it. 1-mana 1/1 token. Not bad. Chatter Storm is also potentially playable, but it needs Storm to create multiple, so we'll add it for now. But it's sorcery speed with Storm, so it might not stay. Cogworker's Puzzle Knot is fine. 2-mana token that can create another token, but we might not play that. Crack Open could be decent removal. Elephant Guide is kind of just a really strong aura that we might consider playing. It can help us pressure life totals because our commander has trample, and can also be used to create a big token. This is actually 2 tokens at instant speed for 4 mana, so that's worth considering. In general, Populate isn't that important for us since our tokens will be small, but we'll consider it. This is just a decent creature on 4 that creates a token. Fortifying Provisions can help potentially protect us from a board wipe. It might be worth considering. It also just pumps our toughness to help protect against Pestilence and Crypt Rats. Gingerbread Cabin is a good land for us. Gold Vein Pig is another one of those equipments. Glittermonger can produce a treasure token every turn and is a decent blocker, but at 4 mana it's probably not worth it for us. But we'll consider it. This is just too expensive. Jewel Thief is a very good card for us. Just an amazing 3-drop that creates a token. Kalani Garden is worth considering. Late to Dinner is a recursion spell, but we're not playing big creatures for the most part, so it could resurrect Soul of Migration, which would be cute. They are from the same set. Marching Duodrone is constant treasures, but it also ramps all of our opponents. It does potentially benefit us more than them, but I'm still not a fan. Mimicking Slime requires a bit too much setup, and 3 is the biggest power we have, so not great. 2-mana creature that creates potential ramp and a token. Definitely worth. Night Soil is Grave Hate that creates tokens. We can play that. We don't have ways to sacrifice artifacts, really, so we probably won't play Nimble Right. This is going to be very strong for us. It would be even better if we had ways to actually get multiple combats in this format, but even without, especially if we give First Strike to Cadira and we have this on something else, it would be absurd. This is potential card draw, but I'm not a big fan of it. Pegasus Guardian is a protection spell with the flicker as well as a token generator. So we're definitely playing that. Presence of God is interesting. We could just throw that in here with a Midnight Guard just to have them. But it's definitely not a goal of the deck, and we might cut the Midnight Guard. We won't have creatures big enough to play Prize Fight, most likely, which is unfortunate. Prying Blade, another strong choice, as we've discussed. This is an instant speed buyback spell that at worst is a 1-mana token. Sounds pretty good to me. Another spell that can create multiple tokens but draws people cards, which I just really don't like. But maybe it's worth it since it's 3 mana. And it also draws us a card, so, you know. This card's potentially playable, along with the Searchlight Companion. This one due to ramp and this one due to evasion. But I'm not going to throw them in for now. This is just not great mana-wise, even though it does have Unearth. This is consistent token generation. Slime Molding could be interesting as just a big creature if we need it, and it also helps with populate stuff. And same with Shadow Beast Sighting. This is fine, but not efficient enough. This is another 1-mana 1/1 token at instant speed, but we're probably not gonna play it. Now, Sprout Swarm is probably an all-star for this deck, since we're gonna be making so many creature tokens, and it has Convoke. Unfortunately, the tokens that we're making are white, so they won't pay for the green pip. But we can use the green Saproling it makes to pay for the green pip if we want to buy back it multiple times. This is another token generator, but it requires us to have ways to tap it, but we can consider it. The fungus generators are probably just too slow for our aggro deck. We drop this on turn 1, it'll make us a token by the time Cadira drops. Or by the time she swings, probably. But yeah, that's still rough. Trumpeting Herd is definitely worth playing. 2 3/3s for 4 mana. Mana Dork that creates multiple tokens. I think Warm Welcome is potentially good. It depends on what our creature count ends up being, but it should be good for us. You find a Cursed Idol is interesting as removal or a token if necessary, so we'll consider it. And the Yapamaya Shepherd is fine, but not quite what we're looking for, and we've already got plenty of token generators. Now let's think about what else we need. We need ways to protect Cadira and potentially our whole board. A fog like Blinding Fog could potentially be really nice for us. Gives hexproof and prevents damage dealt to creatures, which means if we have to do it during our turn when Cadira is swinging against like a 3/1 to make sure we get through damage. It also protects against the damage-based board wipes for red. Flaming Fist giving double strike could be very strong. In general, the card's fine, but if we get the nuts with this card, it's like turn 1, token generator, turn 2, token generator, turn 3, Cadira, turn 4, Flaming Fist, swing, create 2 tokens, create 4 tokens. We now have an absurd board, which means potential pumps with like Break of Day could potentially be very nice. Pump spells will help us. Entire board-wide pumps will help us really just close games out. Red Lenore is just too expensive. This one's definitely worth paying. A 2 damage pump is absurd. This is decent because it gives vigilance, it has flashback and cycling, so it gives us value multiple times, which is important because our color combination doesn't draw cards terribly efficiently. Broodborn defenses can populate and give our board indestructible. Rush of Battle is another 2/1 pump, but it's 4 mana, which is rough, so we probably won't play that. This one gives us a counter on each creature we control, so this is probably better than Rush of Battle. Skyshaper is potentially playable as another finisher, giving our entire board flying. Same with this. Essentially gives our board unblockable. And it can also protect our board dying while blocking. It also protects our board from Crypt Rats, interestingly enough. Your Temple is under attack, just gives our board indestructible, or a card draw if we're desperate. I also want to be able to protect Cadira specifically. So I like cards like Apostle's Blessing, Benevolent Bodyguard. I really want to play the enchantments that do this, just because they'll stay in play. So, especially like Mask of Law and Grace will be very strong for putting on Cadira, protecting her from a lot of removal. And then we can also play Benevolent Blessing, potentially even Shomano's Blessing. And then we'll also play Apostle's Blessing and Benevolent Bodyguard for sure. Emerge Unscathed has Rebound, which could not only protect us for 1 mana at instant speed, but then next turn we could use it to help get through damage guaranteed. Stave Off is another strong spell that can do this because it can also target opponent's creatures and stop combos. And the last thing that comes to mind that we might want to play is Initiative and Monarch, since we're going to be creating a lot of tokens. So we'll play the creatures, probably won't play the torch. But even the torch, if we have this equipped to Cadira, it can help make sure we get through trample damage, so we might play that too. And then we need Monarch. We'll definitely play Palace Sentinels. The other two are more questionable, but we'll throw them in for now. And then we just need some basics. I always play snow-covered basics, just because any card that requires you to have snow permanence is now something that the other players will have to think about and consider that you might be playing, whereas they wouldn't have to if you weren't playing these, so it's, in this format, it's just always better to play these. I don't think we're gonna need Midnight Guard. Glittermonger's probably also too slow. Yeah, so now we just need to start making cuts. So some of these more expensive cards might end up getting cut, but I do like the 4 mana ones. 4 or less is fine. Let's see if we have any that cost too much. This one has Convoke, so it's probably still fine. We actually only have 19 creatures, so we might not get to play Warm Welcome. So we might end up needing some more card draw. I don't know if we'll be able to play Fists of Ironwood. How many cheap creatures do we have? It's not really worth putting it on a token, aside from the fact that it's 2 mana, 2 tokens. You've got 1, 2, 3 4 creatures that could come down before Cadira, and they're not really worth giving trample to, so we might have to put this into considering. Just due to our low creature count, which is hilarious for an aggro deck, but, you know, we're generating tokens through other means, so we have a lot more creatures effectively than what it looks like. Our commander also just generates creatures, so... And we're probably going to be playing 33 lands, maybe? 33, 34 lands seems like a good count for us. We don't want to play too many tapped lands, but I will play some. All the protection seems good. It actually seems out of place, funnily enough. How slow it might end up being. So we'll add it to considering for now, but it might come back in. I mean, it's just a good card. I really like these. Just guaranteeing that we get an extra creature out of them. And also just giving us the value of the blood and treasures. Honestly, some of these 3 mana... Ooh. Yeah, 4 mana for 2 bodies might not be good enough. Let's see what we've got at 4 mana. At least if it doesn't have any recursion. These we can all recur, so they're fine. This makes bigger bodies, so it has potential to still be playable. This one makes a 4/4. Does it twice. Yeah, I think Join the Ranks has to go. This one might need to go as well. Okay, we'll put this into the considering pile. Bumps our land count up to 27. This might be a bit too cute. Move that to considering. The pips on this might be a bit rough, but we'll leave it in for now, I think. What do we have that's only making, like, 1 token? Got Chatter the Squirrels. Chatterstorm is probably a cut, honestly. Chatter the Squirrels might come out. Although I do really like just being able to cast it on turn 1. This might be a bit slow. This is slow, but it is instant speed. But what are we... Okay, so it's better later in the game being instant speed since we get to hold up our protection. So that might still be worth playing. Add in some more lands. 3 more cuts. Our curve is typically fairly low. We don't have any ramp in the list currently, but I honestly don't know if that's too bad. We do have a bit of ramp with the Eldrazi Scions that we can make, but typically we're going to be doing that after our commander's in play, except for with Nest Invader. And we do have ways to make treasure tokens, so I guess we do have a bit of ramp, actually. And we do have a mana dork. This is actually slower than Presence of God, but it doesn't require us to commit to enchanting a specific creature. But it kinda does because it itself has to exist. But it is also only 2 mana. But then it costs us a mana every turn. So maybe Presence of God is better. I don't know. That's a tough one. I think this one stays for now, at least, though. I think all of these creatures are probably gonna stay, except for maybe Stonebrook Master. How many ways do I have to tap this outside of combat? Got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 ways to tap it. It would be 6 if I added back Presence of God. I think it might actually have to come out. It's just not going to get through in combat for the most part. Find a Cursed Idol might be a bit slow. And we are super aggressive. We're going to want a bit of interaction, but how much protection do we have? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pieces of single target protection. We do have Grave Hate, which is good. I think we can't cut this. It looks cuttable, but it's just so good, especially on our commander. But it might just need to get cut anyways. We'll put it into considering. It does put us at 33 lands. I would still like to play a couple cards that I'll just put into considering, like Relic of Progenitus, which is another strong piece of Grave Hate. I'd like to play some actual interaction for killing problematic creatures. So some cards like Crib Swap, Angelic Purge. So we're talking about like Angelic Purge, which makes us sacrifice a permanent, which we're creating tokens, so that's not a big deal, and it lets us exile anything. This probably actually has to go to the main board. We have to find a slot for that. Relic is good. Grave Hate, that can also replace itself. Crib Swap is creature removal that exiles. Fight spells just aren't going to be good enough for us. I'm really questioning how many of these finishers we need. I think that's the biggest question. Funnily enough, I think Sky Shaper is probably the worst of them. Potentially. Since they're all just so small. Let's give it a couple test hands, see how we feel about it. So, in this first hand, we do nothing on turn 1. Turn 2, we make a token. Turn 3, we cast Cadira. And then turn 4, we can make 2 more tokens. So let's just see. So we draw Protection. Turn 2, we can just cast Slime Mold as a 1/1 ooze. And then we go turn 3, Cadira. And then turn 4, we can either play Elephant Guide on Cadira and just take the 1 token, or we can play Fortifying Provisions so that we get 2 tokens, or what I would probably do, since it's turn 4, is cast Omen of the Sun. So we swing with Cadira, and then before damage, cast Omen of the Sun. It enters the battlefield. We create 2 human soldiers, gain 2 life, and then Cadira deals combat damage, and we create 3 rabbits. So this is what our board state looks like on turn 4. And then from this point on, we can hold up protection from creatures, or give our board indestructible. We have a pump that gives us blockers. We have Elephant Guide if we want to just pump our commander because our opponents have a big blocker. We can give our board some extra health. We've got options from here, which is nice. This opening hand is unkeepable. 1 land with a bunch of our more expensive cards. This hand is not great unless we draw plains. So if we were to keep it, we find another forest, which gives us night soil, and then we're just kind of stuck, so that would probably not be a good keep. This hand just has too many lands and nothing to do with it, which is unlucky. And then this is a good hand. So we would have had to gone down to 5. We'd probably put Shadow Beast Sighting back, and then the Chomanos, since we only have 1 plains. But even with this hand, like, you go turn 2, generate 2 tokens, turn 3 Cadira, and then turn 4 we can make 2 more tokens, and then make 4 tokens with Cadira, and out of literally nothing, we suddenly have 9 creatures, and we get to hold up protection on our next turn, or get the initiative. So now that we've established a foundation for our list, we can go ahead and work on the mana base. I went ahead and added in an Opal Palace because this is going to be great for our commander if we have to go into the long game and our commander gets removed. It will help make our commander larger, and since she naturally has trample, the counters get more value. The next thing is to take a look at our percentages. So a majority, almost 2/3 of our deck, 60% of our deck is white, and 37 is green. So if we look at our symbols for mana symbols are actually fairly spread out. And then we can see our production down here. So we need to lean heavier into our white production. So right off the bat, we can go ahead and cut down on forests and add in some plains. And now our percentages are much closer to where they should be. So the next thing to consider is if we want to play any more non-basics. We are an aggressive deck, so we really want to be able to play these cards on curve on turns 1, 2, and 3, and potentially 4 as well. So having tapped lands is really not great, and we've already got 1, potentially 2. So we're going to go ahead and take a look at my Staple Lands package, which you can subscribe to on Moxfield and import to your decks. But for the sake of this video, we will not be directly importing them. We could add in artifact lands, but we don't really have any cards that care about us having artifacts, so those do not seem particularly useful. There are bounce lands, but we're not untapping lands. Campuses are more for long-term games. Command Tower we're definitely going to want to play, since it's untapped. This is a land that you're going to want to play in all of your 2+ color decks. Path of Ancestry could also be playable. Let's see, our commander is an Orc Ranger. We've got 2... We would only get 2 triggers off of it, and it's a tapped land, so I'm actually going to not play it. But it could be worth considering if you really need those pips for your list. The utility lands, we could play Study Hall, but we don't care too much about scrying. Tapped lands and dual lands are all tapped. This land can sacrifice itself to draw a card, but again it comes into play tapped, and we're an aggressive deck, so probably not going to play that or any of these tutor lands. And the gate package would be potentially useful, since it can help make tokens with the Heap Gate, or pump our commander with Basilisk Gate. However, you can only play, let's see, those 2 gates, the Guild Gate, Gateway Plaza, which I wouldn't play. So you would get 2, 3, and then 4, 5 for the single color gates. so it's probably a bit inconsistent due to the lack of draw power we have in our list. So I would lean towards just adding in a command tower. Take a look at our percentages again. We could potentially cut a forest for plains, but another thing we want to take into consideration is not only the percentage, but when we need those colors. So most of our 1-drops are going to be white, as well as a majority of our 2-drops. So once we start getting to 3-drops, we see a bit more green, but still not as much. 4-drops are where green really starts coming in, the 4+, so our top end is more green, except for the very top end. But like our 4 to 5 curve is where a majority of our green pips are coming in, which means it's probably better for us to lean more into the plains than the forests, as we can rely on the forest more when we draw them on turns 4, 5, 6, rather than needing them early. Additionally, we've got a couple of our lands that are non-basics that are green only, so I think this is a pretty decent mana base. So yeah, this is a deck that snowballs extremely hard if Cadira is able to deal combat damage once. If she deals damage twice, your board state is absurd, and there needs to be a board wipe or the game is over. We've got some good value engines with Initiative and Monarch, because they're not gonna be easy to take away from us. We've got some pump spells to help us get through damage, as well as some larger tokens to help protect against the board wipes. However, this deck is lacking in interaction. We have Angelic Purge as one piece of interaction, and we have a bit of Grave Hate with some of our token generators, like Night Soil. But in general, our quote-unquote interaction is just going to be killing the combo players as fast as we possibly can before they're able to do anything. That's how this deck works. If you're trying to play this in a full combo meta, your chances of winning are very, very low. You're gonna want some help from another aggressive deck. This deck excels whenever there is one other aggro deck at the table, because you two team up to take down the 1 or 2 other combo players, and then your board state is so much larger than the other aggro decks, most likely, due to the exponential growth of your board state, that you'll be able to block most of their stuff. And they likely won't be playing a board wipe. So that's where this deck really excels. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, be sure to leave a like and comment down below if there are any cards I missed, or if there's a specific deck you would like me to build next. And make sure to hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. It really helps me out a lot. Thanks for watching, and have a great day.